that community really helped us work through this chaos. And
Hmm.
that's why I talk about in my book a lot, that community is a remedy for chaos. When you got trauma in your life, you got all these things going on in your life, and you feel so lost and you feel so confused, you don't want to face those things alone. You cannot face them alone, because that's what the devil wants you to do. He wants you to face them alone and be by yourself, and that's when he can attack you. But when you
Hmm.
bring in other people that God has anointed into your life and in your circle, then you start to see the fruit of that.
Will my adopted child be okay? What does their future hold? Did I do something wrong? Hi, neighbor. I'm Tim, an adoptive parent and adoption life coach. If you're feeling anxious or uncertain about your parenting journey, you're in the right place. I help Christian adoptive parents with practical tools and emotional support anchored in timeless biblical principles. Anchors of hope and healing are on the way. Hi, neighbor. I'm excited to bring to you an inspiring conversation I had with my neighbor, Jackson TerKeurst's. I'll share more about Jackson in just a moment. But before I do, I would like to extend an invitation for you to become a member of our community. Community is something you're going to hear Jackson talk a lot about in this episode, because it was community that helped Jackson heal from his trauma. And I believe it's community that can help adoptive parents navigate the unique challenges we face in our parenting journeys. From the very beginning, community has been an important part of this podcast. It's a safe space for adoptive parents to come together, share our struggles, and receive the support and encouragement we need. If you're looking for that kind of connection, I'd love for you to join us. Visit timsuggests.com/community. The link will also be in the show notes. I hope to see you there. Now let's get to my conversation with Jackson TerKeurst's. I'm excited to welcome my neighbor from West Africa by way of Nashville, Jackson TerKeurst's. Jackson TerKeurst's is an entrepreneur and leader who continues to defy the odds as a first-generation immigrant from West Africa. The adopted son of best-selling author and speaker Lisa TerKeurst, Jackson is passionate about drawing together people from diverse backgrounds to experience authentic community. He lives with his wife and their newborn twins, son Legend and daughter London, outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Jackson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tim. It's great to be here today. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. We've texted back and forth, and you have a very compelling story. I say you're my neighbor from West Africa by way of Nashville. And so I call everybody my neighbor.
I love it.
It goes back to a person that lived a few miles from me. And when I was a little kid, he said, "Hi, neighbor." And I thought he was crazy because he didn't live next door. But he taught me the concept of neighbor.
Right.
And so I consider everybody on this planet my neighbor.
That's
And
good.
you're my neighbor from Nashville.
Yeah.
We're a little over 3 hours away from each other. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, neighbor. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. As we start the conversation, I would like for you just to tell your backstory. It's riveting. So if you can just start
Mhm.
there and we'll just take the conversation from that point.
Yeah. So I was born in Liberia, West Africa, and I was born in a small remote village outside the city in a small town called Full Blight. So Full Blight is a very rural village where we don't have no technology, running water, and we are very, very poor people, and we were just farmers. And we spent most of our days basically, you know, taking care of our farm and doing life together as a community throughout all of those amazing times. The devil always has a plan to come and destroy, steal, and kill. So one night, my simple life changed forever. I heard something very strange in my life for the first time, and it was a sound of chaos. It was a sound of AK-47. It was a sound of grenade launchers. It was a sound of women screaming for their children and men crying, who were being basically raped out of their house and beaten and murdered at the same time. And I was just 7 years old having to witness all of this. And I was able to escape into the thick of the jungle with my aunt, where we lived for several months. And basically, we lived like the animals out there. We had no food, and we just ate from whatever the animals ate. Anything we can find to eat, that's what we had for food. And we couldn't make any sounds or noise, and we didn't have no bed, so we just slept on the leaves or make up our own bed. However, whatever we can find, the materials we can find, put something together to just cover us up at nighttime to stay dry. But then fast forward, I was taken to an orphanage where I had no idea what an orphanage is because I was just a village boy and I never stepped out of the village. I was always in the village. And when I came to this orphanage, it was somewhat in the city and they had big buildings, but it was like abandoned buildings that we were all living in. And it was about 400 to 500 children who were in this orphanage. And everybody is just there, malnourished, hungry, starving, scared, crying, sick. And it seems as if we are all just dead, waiting for our term to die. That's what it seems like. So, and then that what's even terrible is that we were just orphans, and then next thing you know, the rebels came to the village. To the orphanage and attacked the orphanage I was in, which is like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? We were just little kids, trying to hide and just be safe, but you come in there and try to take us away. There was bullets going off, gun shooting, taking some girls away, recruiting for the army for their rebel things. But then when the chaos seized down a little bit, we left that area, went to another orphanage, and then another orphanage, and then another orphanage. And I was asked the name, "What is your name?" And I told them that my name is Kemun. So Kemun is the only name that I knew because in the village, it's not civilized. So you don't have you have a first name, but not middle and last and all those things. We don't care about all that stuff. But when they asked me in the orphanage, what is your name? I said, my name is Kemun. And the lady was like, listen, that's a great name, but we need a full name so we can keep a record of all the kids here. She said, you know what? I'm going to give you the name Jackson. So she gave me the name Jackson. And that's how I got the name Jackson. So then I moved to another orphanage outside the city. And then that's where that orphanage is where I experienced the most hunger in my lifetime because that was in the thick of the war during like the civil war in Liberia. It was no joke. And there was no supply coming in from the government or any of our sources that helps orphans at all. And even if they had any supplies, the rebels would take that away from us or from them, So we were basically left for dead. We were just hanging around until it was our turn to die. And most days we ate once a day, or sometimes none at all. And other days we have warm water and prayer for lunch and dinner or breakfast. So that was our meals we had. And that's what sustained us for so many years. Fast forward, I moved to another orphanage again, and then another one. This is where I got the opportunity to start a boys choir with my friends in the home. And that boys choir came to the States to raise awareness and sponsorship for the orphanage and to share our story and testimony of what it is that's going on in Liberia with our brothers and sisters here in the U.S. So that's the overall gist of my life a little bit.
Oh my. And you were 7 when this first happened?
Yes, sir. 7 years old, having to experience all of this, so much confusion. And I was shaken, scared, confused as what this is, what's happening, you know?
Mm-hmm. Now, and I think you were mentioning when the rebels would come into the orphanage, were they trying to conscript other boys your age or older to fight?
Absolutely. That was their goal. Their goal was to recruit
Mm-hmm.
young boys to join their forces.
Mm-hmm.
It takes like a simple Google search to Google Liberian Civil War, and you'll see young boys with strapped with bullets around the neck and guns and machine guns, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily for me, I was blessed and saved enough by God to where I was not recruited, you know.
Right.
So but yeah, that was the saying that happened. Typically, it was normal to do that for them, and they were persistent to recruit for the army.
Hmm. I can't imagine.
Mm,
I just can't imagine. But as you said, God was watching over you
it was.
and found a way to get you to the States. And is where you met your adoptive parents.
Yeah.
How did that transpire?
Well, how that happened is that so when we came here with the boys choir, we had a tour visa for about 1 year to tour to share our story and to create connections and to send money back to the orphanage and to take care of our brothers and sisters. And our 1 year tour visa was coming to an end. It was expiring. We had a very serious conversation with our leader, the one that brought us here, and he sat us down, all the boys, all 12 of us in the choir. He said, listen, I don't know how to say this to you the best way possible, boys, but we cannot go back to Liberia. We cannot. And we were all very shocked. As like, wow, we can't go back. That's our home. That's where we belong. That's where we come from.
Hmm.
And he said, I know you're devastated. I know you're sad, but another war has erupted. So there's war going on right now. If we left and went back to Liberia and got off the airplane, we would have been shot and killed point blank, no questions asked.
Hmm.
So that's what he explained to us. And he also explained to us that the orphanage that we come from was also being burned down by the rebels again. And they were being attacked by rebels. And they were taking some girls, molesting our sisters and also recruiting for the army again. So that was that was hard to take,
Hmm.
and we felt homeless, we felt helpless, and we had no place to belong. And we were like, man, where do we belong? Our home, we can't even go back to our own home, and we're in a country where we don't belong. So where do we belong? You
Hmm.
know? But God is a God. He is so mighty, man. When we have so much struggles and fear, he always has a plan. And our last concert, he did the unthinkable by speaking to one specific person in the congregation,
Hmm.
and it was my mom, Lisa, who God spoke to, and God told her that two of these boys are yours. Two of these boys are yours.
Hmm.
And she's like, la 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 la. I don't hear you, God. I don't hear you at all. You know, I don't hear you, God. No, 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 no. I don't want that. I don't want that. But God was like, two of the boys are yours, and I want you to take them home. And she called my dad, told my dad about it, and my dad was like, "Get home now, get some milk, and get home. We ain't got time for that." So, but my mom was so passionate about it, and and she knew that God wanted her to do this. God wanted her to adopt us. So my mom, Lisa, adopted me and my brother from the choir. And before you know it, her other friends from her church and her community decided to adopt the rest of the boys. So
Oh,
all
wow.
12 boys, yeah, that's
Wow.
incredible. All 12 boys got adopted in Charlotte, North Carolina, all because one woman said yes to God. And that's my mom. So I am beyond grateful that she allowed God to use her and to trust God and listen to God. And because of that, I am sitting here today as a living testimony of that miracle.
It's a great story.
Thank
Um,
you.
it's a great story, and listen to that when she listened to her calling to adopt you and your brother. Now, this isn't your biological brother. This was
Nah,
from the orphanage. Okay. Yeah.
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 He was my best friend in choir, and then turned best friend turned brother. So that's
Hmm.
kind of how, yeah. So I mean, it was a
Okay.
dream come through for both of us because we were like, listen, man, we're gonna be together, you and I. We're gonna do life together, and we want to be adopted together, and then God made it happen from best
Hmm.
friends to brothers. I mean, you can't beat that. Like that's a God thing.
Yes. And this
Yeah.
was the last concert that you performed, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
This
wow.
this was the last concert, and then because of that concert, because of my mom's brave action to listen to God, man, Oprah heard about our story. She heard about the amazing sacrificial love that these parents had for us to bring us into their homes, and
Hmm.
Oprah was amazed to where she's like, "Listen, this is my favorite adoption story of all time, and I want to have you guys on the Oprah show. You know,
Wow,
yeah, and
cool.
that's how we got to be on the Oprah show with because of that.
Wow. Now, how old were you when you were touring the States with your music group?
I was about 15,
15.
15
Okay.
years old.
So I'm
Mhm.
trying to understand the timeline. The rebels raided your village when you were 7,
Hmm.
and then you were in and out of orphanages until you came over to the States, and so at 15 you were adopted.
At
Wow.
15, at 15, I came to America, and then
Uh-huh.
right before my 16th birthday, I got adopted. I was around 15 and a half, 16 years old. That's when
Oh
I got
wow.
adopted. Yeah, so it was not a normal thing. It's not normal to adopt someone my age or my
Mm-hmm.
situation. It's rare.
Right.
So which makes it even unique and special. And I see that as a miracle from God that He made that possible.
Mm-hmm. Now, it sounds like you and your brother were excited to be able to stay together, and you were grateful for this family to take you in and adopt you. But you just don't shed the experiences you've lived these past 8+ years in fight or flight, if you will. How did you process the trauma that you had gone through? I mean, it didn't just go away, did it? Or was it something you had to learn how to manage?
Well, yeah, I mean the trauma never went away.
Mm-hmm.
It never did. And I was always afraid. I was always scared. I was always stressed. I was always anxious. I had anxiety. I had depression. I mean, I had so much trauma that, my gosh, I reacted to everything, in a negative way because that's how I grew up and that's how things were for me. So,
Mm-hmm.
and my parents saw that that trauma was affecting me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one of the best things they did was I remember this. My mom was talking to me and she gave me some affirmation. She's like, "Listen, son, you're home now. You're safe. You have
Mm-hmm.
no return policy. We love you. You are our son.
Mm-hmm.
No one's coming to hurt you. No one's coming to take you away. You belong here." And those were words I never heard in my life before. To give me that calm, to give me that confidence, to give me that reassurance that I belong somewhere and that I am on this trajectory to be somebody in the near
Mm-hmm.
future.
Did you believe that right away, or did it take a while to sink in?
It took a while to sink in.
Yeah.
I didn't believe that right away because no, I did not, because I mean, coming from where I come from, I mean, life is tough. And I mean, I've been on a run for my life, and I've been hungry, and I've been abandoned, and I've been all these things. And here, just loving, amazing people that wants to love me unconditionally. But because of the life that I lived in my past, it was hard for me to accept what they're offering to me, that
Mm-hmm.
free gift. So I struggled to accept that. But over time, with consistent action on their part and consistent reassurance and consistent taking me to do different activities with going to camp, going to youth group and Bible studies and different things like that, and even having my first job at Chick-fil-A in a register, all of
Mm-hmm.
those things contributed to me facing my trauma in a positive way toward healing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was great that it did that for me.
One of the things I like to do on this podcast is to offer tips for adoptive parents. It's good to hear from an adoptee because we need that perspective to be able, and adoptees listen to this show, but adoptive parents, they need to understand what things adoptees need. It sounds like with your adoptive parents, they were consistent.
Very
How did they first respond to your trauma?
well. I mean, I would say they responded with grace.
Okay.
They weren't like, "Oh my gosh, this kid's from Africa. He is XYZ, blah, 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 blah." It was none of those things.
Mm-hmm.
They understood that I have been in a war situation. I am not a normal American teenager walking around here comfortably with no issues and need all the things in the world. But I have struggled, and they were very intentional to making sure that I felt safe, that I felt seen, and that they were vested into me into my growth, into my healing. And my mom and dad even put me through therapy along my brother, to where we can
Mm-hmm.
have conversation with therapists. And we had mentors at church, and our youth group pastor who we spoke to and hung out with him and his family often, and they pour into us. So that community really helped us work through this chaos. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I talk about in my book a lot, that community is a remedy for chaos. When you got trauma in your life, you got all these things going on in your life, and you feel so lost and you feel so confused, you don't want to face those things alone. You cannot face them alone, because that's what the devil wants you to do. He wants you to face them alone and be by yourself, and that's when he can attack you. But when you
Mm-hmm.
bring in other people that God has anointed into your life and in your circle, then you start to see the fruit of that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what God did for us through community.
Through community. That's beautiful. I know in your book you also mentioned that the night you ran, you and your aunt had to run for your lives, that you learned to be silent in the chaos.
Hmm.
That's something you had to unlearn, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we were very silent in that chaos, because that chaos for us, if we made any sound, that would have triggered rebels to come and
Mm-hmm.
find us. And they would have killed us point blank with no questions asked. So we were silent in that chaos. And being silent in the chaos, this is where the devil wants you to be exactly. He wants you to be silent when chaos comes your way. When troubles comes your way, he wants you to be silent and be by yourself so he can attack you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we were. We were in that position where we were just quiet, scared, no support, and we were just like, oh my gosh, what do we do? But then we decided to leave where we're at to go somewhere else for more support. And that's what we did.
For adoptees listening to this episode, how did you learn how to stop being silent in the chaos? Because you've talked about community. What are some of the things that you did that could help others who are listening to this? Because I believe the things that happen to us are for a reason, and you're a testament to God using you and using your story to bless others. And so, what would
Mhm.
you advise, adoptees who are silent in their chaos, that don't want to talk, that try to keep everything bottled up?
You can't do that. You cannot listen, man. You can't face this thing alone. You really cannot. There's no way that you can face whatever it is you're going through by yourself, because
Hmm.
all you can do is keep going in circle, in circle, in circle, and the same result over and over. And guess what? That's going to cause you to be frustrated. That's going to cause
Hmm.
you to create anger, create resentment, and other negative factors into your life. And you don't want that. You deserve the best. Your past does not define you. It should refine you to make you a better person, to see things from a different perspective, not from an old perspective. So you have to learn to work through those things by really knowing what you want for yourself, and be like, you know what? I am tired of living like this. I am tired of being in this position. I am tired of missing out on the blessings God has for me. I'm tired of all these things. I want better for myself. I want better in life. And I am called for more. I am called for more. I am not just an adopted person. Man, being adopted was just a season in your life. That
Hmm.
season is over with now. It's time to move forward. It's time to move on with life, and pursue the purpose that God had for you. You can always live in the past and stay there forever,
Hmm.
So I would just say, find community, find people in your life that you trust, really, really trust, and go to those people and have a heart to heart conversation with them about what is going on in your life, what is going on in your heart, your struggle. And you'll see a huge difference when you start to do these things, because once you talk about those things that are going on in your life, guess what? You're exposing the devil, right?
Hmm.
You're exposing him, and he don't want to be exposed. He
Hmm.
don't want to be exposed. So expose him. Do it. I dare you to do it. I dare you. Go do that.
Hmm.
See what happens. You'll feel a weight off your shoulder just drop. You know.
Hmm.
So I would say continue to seek people in your life that loves you, that wants the
Hmm.
best for you. Create those relationships and pursue those relationships with consistency.
Did you start by having these conversations with your community, or were you having conversations with your therapist, or was it a combination of both at the same time? How did that
Yeah,
work out for you?
it was a combination of both, man. It
Okay.
was a combination of both. Talking to my parents, talking to the leadership that I work with at Chick-fil-A, and even some trusted friends that I had,
Mm-hmm.
that I still have, that I go and talk to. I have older big brothers that I go and talk to. I say, hey, Matt, listen, man, this is going in my life. And he will set me down and have a heart-to-heart conversation about it, and give me some really strong advice about those things. So, yeah, it was a combination of, seeking like those mentorship, seeking the right community of people around you who truly believes in you and want to see you succeed, pursue this relationship. And that's what got me to where I'm at today.
I listened to another interview in my research for this conversation today, and you said something. I chuckled when I heard you say it, but when you're talking about going to therapy, you said you didn't want to snitch on yourself. And I just thought, okay, he's guarded, and
Yeah,
rightfully so. You were guarded because of everything you've been through. But how did you
very.
get over that hurdle of being able to confide in a therapy into a total stranger? How did you get over that?
Man, it just like it goes like this. Like if you want something bad in life, you do whatever it takes to have it. You do
Mm-hmm.
whatever it takes to get there. And that was my drive. I'm very hard on myself and I wanted the best for myself. So I make sure that I pursue those relationships, even in a conversation with therapists, to be transparent and to be honest and to be open
Mm-hmm.
and just to be human. And that's what really helped me. But a lot of people who have gone through my situation, not even that, don't like therapy, don't
Mm-hmm.
like to talk to anybody for support. And that's what I have observed by being in America, that everybody is very individualistic, and they tend to do things their way, my
Mm-hmm.
way, and I'm okay. I don't need you. I don't need them. I don't want to talk to a therapist. I got this figured out. Man, I'm gonna go for a run. I'm gonna go for a walk. All these things. Yeah, those are great things to do, to go for a run and walk. But man, if you really want that healing, you have to put into work for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I saw the value of therapy. And that's where I saw the value of being able to confront some of these trauma and things that have held me back in life to where I can reach my full potential.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started going to therapy, I was like, man, at first I was nervous about it because I was like, man, I'm not trying to snitch on myself. I'm not trying to tell this guy or this girl about, my problems. And they're going to probably be like, oh my gosh, look at him. He's, ooh, that was my
Mm-hmm.
initial reaction.
Right.
But then when I got there and the therapist was like, anything we talk about here is confidential.
Mm-hmm.
Anything we do here is confidential. It's between me and you and God. I was like, really? So for me, that created trust. I was like, okay,
Okay.
that created trust. So therefore, I trusted that, okay, we can have this conversation and it's still right here. And I believe that. So, because I was always afraid that other people know my personal things and would judge me on it. But when they're reaffirming that, no, our conversation stays right here, it's confidential, and we are here to help you to heal. So say everything, anything you want to say. It's all a safe space. It's a safe space for you. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a place to get attacked or get judged. It's a safe space made for you specifically to pursue a journey for healing.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad because there are cultural biases. I think they're starting to erode a little bit in this country, but there are cultural biases to where we go, I can do it on my own.
Yeah,
I don't need anybody to help me.
yeah,
But I appreciate you being honest about how you felt, but then willing to accept this. And I'm glad how you pointed out that you found a safe space to talk these issues through.
absolutely.
Well, as we talked about adoptees, getting some advice and counseling from you in this respect, how you felt. There are not only other adoptive parents who listen to this podcast, there are people who want to be in that community that you talk about. They aren't adoptive parents, but they see a need to help facilitate the healing and want to be
Hmm.
a part of these children's lives. Can you counsel us as an adoptee what you see as far as adopted parents and then people in the community? How can we help to create that safe space for people like you, adoptees, to be able to talk and have these conversations? Because that's important, I think, for us.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, someone like me in my situation where I come from, I was very shy, I was very timid, and I was very
Mm-hmm.
guarded. So I would say for parents or community watching, remember that people like me or these kids have lived through trauma. So they're very judgmental and they're very cautious about who they approach and who they talk to about things. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that when you come to have the conversation with people like me or these kids, like you make sure you're authentic and you're very, very, show some care, show some empathy, show some love and some concern and be passionate, show some compassion to these kids
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know what compassion is. They don't know what love is. And that's something I did not know what love was or affection, a compliment or affirmations or any of those things. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say that when we see people like me, just welcome them and make them feel safe with you, make them feel heard, make them
Mm-hmm.
feel understood, make them feel loved and cherished, and make them feel welcome and not judge on their past and who they are. And don't
Mm-hmm.
label or categorize them in other way.
Yeah, it's a dynamic that the whole adoption idea, people go into it for the right reasons.
Hmm.
One of my son's therapists has said everybody goes into it for the right reasons, but somebody gets hurt,
Yeah,
and it's the child that gets hurt. And so we want to be a part of that community that can embrace the child and help them, nurture them, be that safe space for them. So I appreciate you giving us these tips of
absolutely.
how we can better be community for these children.
And these kids like they want to be involved and they want to get involved with these activities or the community and with you, but they're just shy and they're
Mm-hmm.
scared and they're timid and they're questioning everything. So much questions in the head and the mind about everything, and they're seeing you and they're like not too sure. But
Mm-hmm.
there are some amazing people in this country who I've met that have the greatest heart, man. And they just, and if I tell them I'm from Africa, they say, "Oh my gosh," they give you a hug and they
Mm-hmm.
share their story of the experience with you, and just told you like how much they are so happy you're here, and you look so great. They love your smile. Like those made me feel confident and made me feel good that
Mm-hmm.
listen, I'm being loved. Like these people really love me. Even though I'm not American yet, like they are taking me in already by just showing me those small act of love.
As adoptive parents, and I think this is true for all parents, when we see a situation, we want to try to help our children. Some might even say they want to fix the situation.
Hmm.
And we want to help as much as we can because if we see a scrape, your child falls down, you can put a band-aid on it, you give them a hug or whatever. But some of this stuff is deep inside the heart, and
Hmm.
we want to help them. What might some of the signs of trauma? What might we miss? How might we misinterpret signs of trauma as an adoptive parent with that
Yeah,
one?
I mean, I would say like how you can help that would just be having an abundance of grace and having abundance of understanding,
Mm-hmm.
about a child and really trying to understand the dynamics of where they come from, their like the life before they met you, how life was for them, trying to understand that and not
Mm-hmm.
trying to change them or not trying to rush to change them or not rush trying to change rush to heal them so fast. Let them do things on their own timing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let them do things on their own timing. When they feel led to do something, that's when they start doing it. Because when they do that, then that means for me personally, then that meant like it meant something for me that I sort of value in it, and I want to pursue that. So
Mm-hmm.
and that's one thing my parents did really well. That allowed me to do things on my timing and pursue things the way I wanted to. And then they started to understand me a little better. But
Mm-hmm.
they gave me that grace and it gave me that patience and it gave me that understanding and it gave me that abundance of love and support. And that's what helped a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. When we were going through our trauma experience with our oldest, one of the things we were counseled is that those situations where he might lash out at you,
Hmm.
Don't take it personally.
That's right.
You just happen to be the convenient person in front of them. We were said, don't take it personally because it's not.
Yeah.
They're in pain. He was in pain, and so it was a hard thing for me to divorce myself from. But when I realized that it wasn't personal, even though it felt really personal,
Right.
I knew to draw closer or to give him more space. And
Hmm.
so that's one of the things that we were told, don't take it personally, even
Yeah.
though it might seem that way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, do not take it personal. And I mean, like, listen, we have seen the worst of the worst, in our
Mm-hmm.
experience. So we have trust issues,
Mm-hmm.
major trust issues, not just with you as a person. I mean, obviously you are the person who is going to give us his life, but we don't know you quite well yet.
Mm-hmm.
Despite of your great, generous, gentle actions, we still have doubts because we
Mm-hmm.
always have doubts in the back of our mind. And for us, this is something new, and it's strange. It's weird. It's strange to really just adapt to it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and there are times where, even in high school, I will go on this beach with my friends from high school and basketball team, and I will not tell my parents about it. And then my parents would be like, "Come home." I'd be like, "No, I'm not coming home. I'm hanging out with my friends." You know, and because that's how I was. That's how I grew up in Liberia. I grew up
Right.
making my own rules, my own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad at the time, when I got home, he was like, "I'm gonna discipline you, for that action." I was like, "No, you're not." So we got into it. He and I got into it, and eventually he said, "Listen, you're in a family now. We love you, we care about you, and we want to help you, heal and do all these things. But you have to trust us. You
Mm-hmm.
have to trust that we are here in your corner. We're not here to hurt you or anything along those lines. We're here to make sure that you feel safe, you feel loved, and you are your best, the best version of yourself."
Mm-hmm.
So I was stubborn, and I was very hard headed, and I argued back a lot. I had a lot of anger issues,
Mm-hmm.
because I was frustrated. I was mad at the fact that my biological parents was nowhere to be found, and I've been by myself from age 7 with no friends, no family, no relatives, just me and by myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I've always trusted myself more than anybody else in my life. So if a trusted person come to my life, immediately I was just like, "I don't know you, chill,
Mm-hmm.
please chill. So, but that's my reaction growing up. But
Sure.
yeah. So that's so true.
When did that narrative flip for you? When did you actually begin to trust them?
With the action,
Okay.
consistent action, and consistent what's it called, confirmation, affirmation every
Mm-hmm.
day. And then before I left the house, my mom and dad always told me that, "Listen, son, as you leave the house to go hang out with your friends, remember this. All right, a good name is better than having great riches."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "What does that even mean? Why are you telling me that? What does that even mean?" And they'd be like, "Remember who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Remember who you are. You are a TerKeurst's. And a
Mm-hmm.
TerKeurst's is like, having a good name is better than having great riches." And I never understood that until a few years in high school. And I really understood that, listen, having a good name, meaning like I have to be a good example amongst my friends, amongst my sisters, among my siblings, among my life. I have to be a good example and lead the
Mm-hmm.
way with my action and having a great character.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that sunk in my head for a while, sunk in my head, and then immediately, and after a while, it sat in my heart, and
Mm-hmm.
and I applied that in my life. So whenever I left the house with my buddies or go somewhere to the movies or soccer, I always behave myself. And I always remember those things in my head, that a good name is better than having great riches, because I rather be remembered as a great person,
Mm-hmm.
and then having to be the guy who has so much money and a jerk and no friends and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. So and I chose that path, and that's the path I wanted for myself, because I saw the benefit in what they were saying, and it made sense to
Mm-hmm.
to that. And I caught on to that and cling on to it and apply it to my life as an application. And because of that, they saw changes in my life. And even working at Chick-fil-A, I learned to serve people, and
Mm-hmm.
serving other people took the weight off my shoulder, took the focus off of me and put on somebody else because I was helping somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those things contributed to me pursuing this journey of healing.
Mm-hmm. You just alluded to one of my favorite passages. It wasn't the good name when I love that passage too, but Proverbs 11:25 when it says, "The person who waters will himself be watered." I'm paraphrasing it, but it's
Hmm.
the idea when you serve, it's coming back to you. And
Yes.
so I see that in your story, and it's amazing to see how God worked through you.
Thank you.
And I really want to thank you for being on here. Now, there are so many parts of your story that we haven't talked about today, but you do talk about them in your book. And
Yes.
can you say a little bit about the title of the book and where people can get it? Because I want to encourage them to go get it and find out, well, what happened after several years and so forth with your
Hmm.
life.
Yeah.
There's things we just didn't have time to fill in the gaps, but there's a lot more to your story.
It is. There's a lot more to it. So my book, the title is called "The Only Way Forward Is Back." The only way forward is back. This is my personal story of surviving what was referred to as one of Africa's bloodiest civil wars, to being adopted into a lovely home and having to deal with pain and identity crisis, and ultimately finding my purpose in God's plan.
Hmm.
You have the opportunity as well. You can find me on social media, Instagram, Jackson TerKeurst's, jacksonterkeurst.com, on Facebook, Jackson TerKeurst. I'm there. I would love to meet and connect and hear your story as well. So I appreciate the work you're doing in the background. Keep doing it. And I hope to meet you one day.
I want to thank you so much for being on here and sharing your story. You've given all of us hope that are in the trenches of trauma. I hope there aren't people who have experienced trauma to your level, and I'm sure you do too. We as adopted parents do deal with trauma, and
Yeah,
thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I hope adoptees are listening too, because you are a testament that it can be overcome.
it can be.
It can be. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tim. It's great to be here.
I hope Jackson's story inspired you as much as it inspired me. Maybe you heard parts of your own story in his, the pain, the questions, and the hope. Wherever you are on your journey, I want you to know you're not alone. You can find links to connect with Jackson and get his book, The Only Way Forward Is Back, in the show notes. Before I go, I want to come back to something we talked about at the very beginning. Community. You heard Jackson share how community helped him heal. And if you're anything like me, you know how much we need that too. A place where we don't have to carry our struggles alone. That's exactly why our community exists. It's a safe space beyond the podcast, where adopted parents can connect, be seen, be heard, and be encouraged by others who truly understand the journey. If this episode stirred something in you, if you felt less alone while listening, I'd love to invite you to take the next step and join us. Just visit timsuggests.com/community. The link will also be in the show notes. I hope to see you there. That's all for this episode. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now. I hope today's episode encouraged you to face the storms in your parenting journey with courage and confidence. If so, would you please share this episode with another adoptive parent? It would also bless me and the mission of this podcast if you would take a couple of minutes and leave a review for the show on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now.